Oh, remember, you can always like and subscribe to this channel and video. And if you'd like to spend some pennies in the tip jar, link below, that's always welcome. And thank you very much from all of us. Group C doesn't have that many interesting teams in it, so we can rush through them.
Yeah, that's
um,
fine.
uh,
Harsh on Denmark, but
oh, well, Denmark are having an almighty hangover from the World Cup, where I think most people, hipsters, a lot of us, all expected Denmark to do really well at the World Cup, and they finished with 1 point from 3 games in a group with Tunisia and Australia. Um,
do you know what? All the best teams at that World Cup finished with 1 point from 3 games.
oh, oh yeah, that was some Celtic nation. Must have been Ireland or something.
Yeah.
Oh, so I was looking up how the Danish thought they were going to do this tournament because they did really well at the last Euros, and they do, to my mind, have quite a fun, good attack-minded team on paper. And I found the opinion of Mr. Thomas Gravison, former Premier League footballer, who says that the team
Wrong
is
side of Merseyside, if I remember.
he says the team is crumbling, the manager doesn't have a plan, and the horror scenario from Qatar is going to repeat itself. Well, that's the kind of optimism we expect from someone who used to play for Everton. Um,
Nice.
so Denmark, are they going to fail 2 tournaments in a row, or do you think they're going to return to the blistering form that we saw a few summers ago?
Uh, why do you have to remind me of that last time when they thrashed us in that game? They were unlucky in that. Was it the semis they lost to
They
England
lost
last
in the
time? If I
semis
remember
to
right.
England in extra time, yes.
Yeah, took them extra time when England were at home essentially. So yeah, they were a breath of fresh air last time, but they lost to Northern Ireland, Kazakhstan in the qualifying year. So that doesn't exactly bode well for the tournament for them.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're a big fan of Casper Human, but he's starting to get far more critics at home for his idiosyncratic style of management, shall we say? Uh,
Yes, if the results start going against you, that does happen. You have to back yourself, and he
yeah,
does.
yeah, they've got two younger players who should, well, one will definitely debut at this tournament. I'm hoping the other one does. Who have so much potential on the international stage. One you know very well from the Premier League is Hoyland of now of Manchester United, who's banging in the goals after he
It,
admittedly tepid start. Um,
it's not unusual though. A player coming to the Premier League, taking a time to actually make an impact, to come to grips with the physicality and the speed of the league, and that was. But he has been very decent in a poor side as well.
Yeah, really poor. I think that should be emphasised how bad Manchester United are on
Terrible.
so many levels.
well, think how much they
But
did without McTominay.
yes, yes, exactly. He's been their saviour. But Hoyland had this very weird pattern in that no goals for an age, and then he scored every week. It was just goal, 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 brace, goal, goal, and then he stopped scoring again. And that's normally the sort of thing you think, well, we've got to have him in the squad for the thing, but he's not going to do it. He scored in his last two league games, which, it turned out to be fairly academic, but that's the form you want somebody to be in when they're going off to a tournament, particularly if they look like they're going to be a streaky player. So maybe if he keeps that going into it, and somebody who is going to get you 2 goals in the group stages, that could be enough.
The thing about the Danes is that when they're on fire, they're like free scoring. I mean, at the last Euro, I'm not going to mention the Welsh, don't worry, but at the last Euros, they destroyed Russia so badly. Russia have given up international football since.
Yeah, and I mean that incident obviously galvanized them to a certain degree with Ericsson.
Yes. And I would point out, Oiland, Manchester United, he's got 7 international goals and 12 starts. So that's a pretty decent start for a young player. But the other one who I don't know if you know Isaacson of Lazio. Is he a player on your radar?
Not seen anything of him.
I saw him in the Europa League season 4 last, and he was tearing teams apart with pace and sort of vision for getting the ball in. And there was a clamour to get him to the World Cup, but he didn't make it. Works for Denmark here is that they're in a group with 2 teams who look like sieves, frankly. And when you're playing welcoming defences, that always helps teams that attack. If you get the matter.
Well, and to be fair, even the group favourites, their defence, if you get at it, if you get past midfield, they are vulnerable as well.
I would have thought. I'm sure we'll talk about England's deficiencies at some length in a bit, but that would be where they will be looking at, and I think there'll be a little bit of revenge in their mind, because I don't know if you watched the Denmark-England game, the semi-final live, but that was one that it felt like it was on a knife edge the entire time.
Yep.
And then a dubious penalty, I think it's fair to say, that had clearly lasers being shone in Schmeichel's eyes, and it wasn't a great penalty in and of itself. It was only scored off a rebound, but if you're that close to a final and you think, well, we've been done here, home referee giving a penalty that, you know, it fell firmly in that I've seen them given category of penalties.
Yes.
Which implies I've seen them waved away quite happily as well.
Yes.
Then you will be a bit more geared up to have a little bit of incentive against them. And I think they'd also be looking at the group thinking, even if we don't beat England, we're strong favourites to be second. So we would get out that way and would almost certainly win one of the games. So if we really, really have to, we could be a lucky loser.
I think they'll go through, to be honest. For me, I think second place is probably about where I think they'll finish.
Yeah, that's why I put them.
As much fun as it would be to see the revenge tour, I think our team in the group will have too much for them, but they should in turn have enough firepower to dispense of the other teams in the group.
I put him first, yeah.
And speaking of other teams in the group, it's a nation who haven't qualified for the Euros in 24 years. And they qualified for this one only to have a whole bunch of sods say they're the weakest team in the tournament. Slovenia.
Well, they've got a good goalkeeper, haven't they?
Oh, Black, yep.
Yeah.
My God, they're going to need him.
I was saying, he's going to get a good workout this summer, I think.
I mean, they've not been in anything since World Cup 2010, so there's going to be a bit of a gap of tournament knowledge there. It's going to be very much they're going to have to learn as they go. But if you're going to do it, then this probably is quite a good group, because there's someone else in the group you can target and say we'll finish above them, get a win over them, and they have got a genuinely world-class goalkeeper. That does make a difference. There's not that many in this tournament. There's quite a few ones where, if you look at the squads, you go, well, their goalkeeper's a weakness, and because it's international football, there's not much they can do about that.
Arguably, the best. He might have a chance of being the best player in the group, given the experience and what he's won over the years. So certainly the best keeper in the group, I would argue. Better than a certain a certain hard man keeper.
I find it interesting though that everything goes back to the 2010 World Cup here, because Matthijs Kek, the manager back then, is the manager again now, and he's taken them to the Euros. And he's still sticking to his beloved 4-4-2 formation. It's a rarity these days.
Mike Bassett, Slovenia manager. I can't.
But I noticed that they've been to 3 tournaments. I can't really speak for the 2002 World Cup because they went out with 3 losses, and when I was getting to football at the time, that was not a group I was paying much attention to.
Fair.
At the Euros and at that World Cup in 2010, they went out in the group stage of those. In fact, they're 0-for-3 in group stages of tournaments. But in Euro 2000 and the World Cup 2010, they were both in one of the matches of the tournament before they went out. At that World Cup, they had the 2-2 draw with the USA, where they nearly got through to the last stages, only to be undone by a Clint Dempsey comeback. And at the Euro 2000, they were involved in a 3-3 draw with Serbia, where they went 3-0 up, only to draw. So,
I'd take that happening in this group again.
Yeah.
Will history repeat? Will we see a nice lead for Slovenia end in a draw?
Or will we see it the other way round?
And there's 20 goals in qualifying. That's the most of any second place team. So they've got something.
Yes, although it wasn't a particularly soft qualifying group, to be fair, but
Yeah.
Although I will say that I'm not saying they're struggling for players, but they brought Ilicic back.
Good God.
I haven't checked how old he is, but I assume he must be about 60 now.
I keep thinking he's older than me.
I mean, they still have people like Heron and Sesko who could, feasibly get them goals, but I think they've got nothing to lose in this group, and they probably aren't going to last very long in the tournament.
Certainly, if by some miracle they got to, if they get a third place, I don't see them winning a knockout game.
Yeah.
To quote Paul Merson, if they get out of this group, their manager should get a knighthood. Oh, sorry, Stuart. Your views on Slovenia qualifying or not? We didn't mention.
Where did I put them in there? I had them in third. I could see them being another one of these ones if England and Denmark win all their games except against each other. Obviously, I could see the other two drawing, and that just leaves you with 1 point, and they might be ahead of Serbia on goals scored, but that's not going to get you into the tournament proper.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Serbia, believe it or not, this is their first European Championship since 2000 as well.
Wow.
They have missed the last 5 tournaments.
That's positively Welsh in its outlook.
And when you look at team, I mean, they currently got Jovic, Mitrovic, Vlahovic, Tadic, Milinkovic, Savic, Lukic, Ilic, just to name a few. I think that's a massive underachievement.
Well, their qualifying was mediocre, wasn't it? If I remember
Yeah.
rightly.
Yeah. But they keep getting into World Cups. That's the bit that would throw me, is that I keep picturing either themselves or Yugoslavia as being a World Cup regular, and yet if they can't make it to the Euros,
they've made it to the They made it to the 06, the 10, the 18, the 22 World Cups, but they've gone out in the group stage of all four. So
it's a taking part that counts.
so I've heard rumors.
a noble thing, yeah.
I mean, I think that if Serbia got into the knockout stages, they'd be quite a dangerous team to play because they have quality all through them. But as they've shown this century, getting to the knockout stages is quite a mountain for them.
The talent's there, isn't it? As you said, you listed that talent. You're going, yeah, they should be looking to go quite deep in the tournament.
But that mostly that one same team drew 3-3 with Cameroon at the World Cup and finished bottom of their group. It just astounds me, really. And now they're playing Slovenia, who they did a 3-3 draw with 24 years ago when both last qualified. So.
And then you've got Denmark, who could destroy on their day, and England, who might I say are one of the best sides in Europe at the minute.
England have we're getting slightly ahead of ourselves, but England have the players who could really enjoy that Serbian defence.
Yes,
that's the worrying thing for them.
They could be a fun side though, because I said that defence is fragile, but that talent.
Yes.
I'd like to go fast just because of entertainment value, obviously.
I'm still waiting for Serbia to have a tournament I feel their talent says they should have. But
yeah,
as I look at them playing Denmark and England here, and even Slovenia, and I feel like they're going to do what they've been doing of late yet again. And that's annoying, but I mean, teams get a reputation for a reason.
Yes.
But,
and they've always lived up to it.
Yes. But I mean, no, Stuart, do you disagree? Are you promoting them as...
I've got this same thing. It's that if you've got somebody that's world-class like Oblak in goal, then your opposition will try and raise themselves to match it. And if you don't have strikers that can reach that sort of level, that you can put it right in the corner, you can do an absolute thunderstrike, you can do these things. If you're a sort of medium pace sort of striker, you think, oh, I'm not going to score this. It's in your head. Whereas if you've got an average across the team, you can sort of go, well, I'll take my chance. I think they all psychologically be at a disadvantage, not in themselves, but in what the opposition will think about them. It's difficult when you're going against somebody who is, world class, and you're thinking you've got to be world class to match it. Whereas if you think, well, these are competent all over, you think, well, we've just got to play to our normal level and we'll beat them. So I'm, a little bit down on them. I've got them fourth in the group.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're all kind of marking the grave of Serbia early. Although, would anyone be that disappointed if they bucked the trend and did a Denmark?
Not particularly. No, I'd quite like to see it.
And the final team in this group,
some no hopers. They tend to go out of Europe quite quickly. I understand.
They've not, but well, actually, according to my notes, it's a team that reached the semi-finals 3 times, and they were runner-up in 2021. But they've not mentioned that one.
No.
England.
I'm surprised you've not heard about this. We did put a few notes in the papers that say it's
It may have been heard by carrier pigeon or Glasgow Way once or twice. But
yeah, it is an unusual thing. It's the weird thing is with every tournament, every football tournament that England are in, there is an automatic level of hype in the papers, the press, the media. There is always something that says, well, this time it's going to be different. This time we're going to really push on through. This time Beckham's foot will have healed up properly. There's always a sort of, yes, we know we weren't good enough, but this time we can do it. Bizarrely, the papers seem to be struggling this time around because it feels like it might be true. If you looked at just purely analysis, if I gave you the facts of the team, so they've come quite close the last few times. They've still got the old guard, but they've got new talent coming through, fresh blood into the team. You'd think, okay, brilliant. You've got the winner of the European Golden Boot. That's Harry Kane. He scored the most goals in Europe last season. That's the only thing he won, but there's
a nice cannon for a trophy as well, which is a lovely thing for an ex-Spurs player.
a bit bad for Harry Kane going all the way to Bayern Munich to win a trophy, only for them to finish third in a two-horse race.
It is
so Harry
something
Kane.
to be third in a two-horse race twice. That's quite spectacular. And yeah. Genuinely, there must be part of the England setup is this a psychological thing? Is this something that is in his mindset that will bring us down? But good part is there's so many other players you could look at. You've got Man City regulars. You've got Jude Bellingham, who's just about to pick up the Champions League trophy. You've got there's so many players that you'd look at.
Yeah, the rich has got Saka as well.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he's a good.
But the nice thing is they did the provisional squad announcement. They said 33 players, and of those 33, 17 of them have got fewer than 10 caps. I think that's quite remarkable. So even if you just got rid of the inexperienced people, you'd still end up with a serious weight of people at the tournament that are going, it's their first experience of it. And you've got Mainu, who's been very good for United. You've Cole Palmer, he's been astonishing for Chelsea. So you've got players who are actually quite used to being in a terrible team and being the best thing about it. I think that could be quite a useful thing to bring them on. You look at the people that they've not brought to this tournament. If you've got Ben Chilwell, Reece James, Jadon Sancho, Raheem Sterling, that's quite a fall from grace there. They're not coming.
Talking about from grace, Jordan Henderson.
Yeah. I think he was kind of retired anyway. I mean, he was trying to not be retired, but
yeah,
that's one of those, you call it ruthless, call it recognizing what it is, but that's the sort of thing that means you can just have players on the pitch that can do both the leadership job and the job on the pitch itself.
Yeah, so that's the one thing I think they might miss him, because he was still a very good leader. He's very good at knitting a squad together. And if they can do that, I think they could really go very, very close on this one, because they are a good side. Although I think it might depend on Declan Rice, because he is in front of a defence that, if you get it, does not have a great deal of pace down the middle.
I mean, this is the bit where my dad starts swearing if he's watching. Hi, Oljan. Because I genuinely think England are probably one or two favourites to win the tournament. It may depend on their old bet noir, because I currently have them facing France in the semi-finals. And they've kind of had issues with France in recent history. But I think they have you've got Saka, Mino, Bellingham, Foden, outstanding player at Man City. Although speaking of Mino, I love it how we're all saying Manchester United had a terrible season, but here's yet another player who played really.
They had individuals who did well,
Yes.
fine, yeah.
I think that they're a team of individuals rather than
Yes.
There's also, well, they're not going to be starters. I like the fact that Ollie Watkins should make the team, given he scored 20 odd goals for a team that went to the Champions League. I mean, if you're not going to get the Euros as a backup player for doing that.
And they haven't got room for possibly the most creative player of the English player of all, Trent.
Yeah, well, he's there. Konza of another Villa player.
Villa, Ezra Konza,
The chap you know very well, Curtis Jones. He's in the provisional squad. As is, see if I can get this right. Well, I'm just going to cheat and go Izzy of Crystal Palace, who Jeff Hughes, who knows quite a bit about football, has stated as one of his favourite young players in the entire league. So,
and Palace have hit form towards the end of the season. He's been part of that. So,
there's quite a few Palace players in the provisional. I'm not sure if any of them will make the final squad, but it's still a mark of how much young talent, English talent, they're getting through into their main team.
And I'd argue the progressive coaching that's now at Palace has helped them, because whatever we say about Roy Hodgson, his methods were quite old-fashioned, and now they've got a kind of a modern coach there. That really will help them.
Oh, I wasn't going to mention Roy, because then I feel I have to defend him against
Someone had to.
But yes, his career at Palace maybe didn't end in the most friendliest of circumstances, shall we say? But they seem to.
Yeah, it's not great when you finish your career in hospital. That's not the ideal of way of things, particularly when they've made it known before you went to hospital that was what was going to happen. But at the same time, I think that was quite a nice timing for the parting of the ways. Palace weren't in any real danger, and they could say we're setting ourselves up for the future, which they seem to be. And that's it's not to dig over England tournaments past, but there is this cliche that managers have to be really dour and negative and risk averse and dull, not to put too fine a point to it, to progress. And Roy Hodgson really got some dull performances out, but at the same time that cost us in the World Cup 2010 by being second in the group. We had top of the group had a beautiful route to the final. Second of the group had
Germany, wasn't it?
Germany and France,
Argentina, Spain,
and just every possible bad thing, and yet we still played incredibly negative and defensively and got what we deserved for that. So there is a warning in Roy Hodgson's career.
Although I would point out I'm actually Fabio Capello. There were many negative. There were many negative.
Yes,
England managers.
It was even worse for that next World Cup. It was the fact. Was it they played Uruguay and Uruguay manager went, they're going to play Gerrard, a defensive midfielder, so everyone would go and attack him. And Hodgson left that go the entire game, and you're just screaming at him, take Jared off, because you can see what was going on.
To be fair, I think that one was a masterclass in your job and a bad result, because he went on the air and said anyone that plays in Manaus is doomed no matter how talented they are before the draw, just in case they played there. Just...
But Roy did always get his reasons in first. He'd had that well researched.
But I'd like to point out the irony that for all I know the issues that Liverpool fans may have with Roy Hodgson and his negativity, we point out that his doom as an international manager came when he said he didn't fear France and put an attacking team, only to forget that they were playing Iceland and lost before they even played France in the first place. So maybe stick to the negativity after all.
Absolutely. But Gareth Southgate's actually quite a positive manager. I mean, the last World Cup they played France, and they were probably the better player team over 90 minutes. And but for Harry Kane for getting out to penalties,
yes,
probably would have beaten them.
And they thrashed Iran, which is no mean feat. No, I mean seriously, Iran, they're usually solidly defensive in the group stage. And England scored 6 against them. England scored 3 against Senegal. Again, they were doing really well at the time. They scored 3 against some other team from the UK. We'll gloss over that.
No, I can't remember it. Sorry. Completely slipped my mind.
Hang on, I'll just look it up.
They scored 4 against Ukraine at the last Euros. They do. I mean, they do well at scoring their opportunities they get.
I know Southgate gets a ton of criticism for not being effective. Hang on, the guy's taken them to a semi-final, a quarter-final, and a final. That's as good a record as anyone since Ramsey. In better.
Yeah, it's the funny part is, the thing we mentioned before, internationals, you've got a very limited set of players, and particularly if certain positions are weak, you don't really have much choice with them. I unsurprisingly don't particularly rate Jordan Pickford. I think he's okay. He's on his day, he's good, but
his arms.
I know it feels harsh to criticize him for something he can't help, but
true.
There are bits with his game that I think possibly could have been drummed out if he'd gone somewhere else and advanced further. But he might be the best England have, so we're kind of stuck with him. We'll be looking at playing Maguire in defence again, which I'm not really somebody to put the boot into him too much, because he's been okay for it. His limitations are known, and it's like that. We've got a surfeit of players at the back who can run forward, and to the extent that we're putting Trent, who's played for one of the most successful sides, on an advanced position. He's now just listed as a midfielder for England. There's no pretense that he's going into a defensive position, and maybe that's Southgate's looked at all those defensive weaknesses and saying, if we play negative football, we're just going to get picked off at some point. And that's a worry, because we will eventually come up against a team that is both good defensively and offensively, and you don't really want a team where you've got a reputation for a slight dodginess at the back. But in the meantime, if it makes them play better attacking football,
right. Well, that's less than a minute, so shall we try and see if John can take the thing again?
Can I go and fill up my drink and
yes, go ahead.
Move quickly and
right.
Give you 5 minutes. I'll give you a call. Yeah.
Okay, doc.
Cool. I would tell the cat that this isn't a private meeting that she's been horribly banned from.
Nice. Take care, guys.
Right. So Group D, let's get the team that upsets John so much out the way first. Not Wales. The team that won the penalty shootout to get here, Poland.
Are we going to be talking disallowed goals here?
Yeah, it was a bit of an unfortunate scenario, shall we say?
Just a touch. But again, Poland, I think there's something Stuart referred to earlier. They had a solid side, but if you stop Lewandowski, where do those goals come from? You can put two men on him. He's had a good season, but again, he scored 20 goals, I think it was, somewhere in there. So he's had a good season. He's on form. But again, he didn't get the supply in Cardiff, certainly. They had another mediocre qualifying team. So I'm just going to flag it. I got them down in fourth for the group because I really wasn't impressed with them when we played them.
You think a team that struggled to beat Moldova and Albania aren't going to be any good?
And didn't score against Wales either.
I have a few notes down on Poland, and the first one literally says, "How did they get here?" Question mark, question mark, question mark. The Nations League proved why it's worth with Scotland getting to the tournament last time. It's the Nation League giveth and the Nation League taketh away.
It does feel like a doggy chance sort of team getting it, because we talked not that encouragingly about Albania, and they were below them, and the Czech Republic as well, who do that, and they were very distant to both of them. It does feel like that. You've got Lewandowski's 35 now. Surely this is his last hurrah of things, but there's not that many he can be hurrahing with. I've got them dead last as well. They could well be one that don't get a single point.
I mean,
I've got them as a kind of the wet Wednesday in Stoke of the tournament. That kind of terrible attritional game that I think they're going to give you just almost unwatchable at times. But again, I might be letting my bias show there.
I mean,
Yeah,
they still have Lewandowski, Piontek, Zelinski, Moder, Milic. You look at the team on paper and think, surely one tournament will all click for them. But we said that the last 5 tournaments in a row, and unless you count them winning against Saudi Arabia, it's them clicking. I don't think it's happened yet.
They're a very dour team, I think. They are not entertaining in the slightest, and you do like to see entertaining sides at the tournaments, or sides at least you don't know that you have time to be surprised by. But we've seen Poland for years. Just there's talent there, but it's like England for years. They just don't appear to hell bent not to use it.
Well, as this is sort of a low-key group of death, when you look at who's in it, I think we have to link Poland's chances to another team in the group who are, in fact, the hipsters' prediction to do really well. And I feel like I've got a terrible deja vu from when I predicted them to do really well 8 years ago here. That is Austria. Now managed by Ralf Ragnick, who's, very talented coach, been kind of at many great clubs and also Manchester United in recent history. What I like about this marriage is that when Ragnick signed a few years ago, Austria were in a real low patch, and he was feeling really low because of how the night thing had fallen apart. So they kind of joined forces and suddenly got the best out of each other again. And I like that. it's kind of it's a nice story.
Plus, he turned down Bayern Munich to stay with them for this
Mhm.
tournament, and that's
Yes.
that's surely even though he was very polite and charming when he turned it down, but that's got to be pretty tempting. So the fact that he said publicly they've offered no,
Mhm.
that's got to give a boost to them as well.
Plus, I love this. He got asked what his aim is for the championship, and he said his aim for the Euros is to win it.
Yeah.
You've got to have an optimist. Why turn up otherwise? Might be helped by David Alaba not being there. I don't think so.
Well, I think he is going to be there. He is a non-playing captain,
Yeah.
which I don't know what is. Does that mean he hands out the drinks? He's like going to hang around and say inspirational stuff? But he's officially listed as a non-playing captain on there. Despite
a cheerleader, perhaps? Is he get the outfit? Yeah, got
No,
the box going.
Isn't that what David Beckham did at the 2010 World Cup? As I say, they are a kind of hipsterish choice at the moment, but they do have quite a solid group of talent through that team. They've got
Baumgartner.
Yes, he scores 20 crucial goals, and he's only still on 24, so we can see him around for a while yet. They've got Liner. Although I feel like at the last Euros, I said this was a Euros too far for former Stoke heavyweight Arnautovic, and he's back in the squad for this tournament.
Well, he's quite the physical player, so he has held up well on that score. So yes, Spencer.
He's just won with Inter as well, so he'll be in a good mood.
Mm-hmm. But do you want to know the kicker after all this?
Go on.
I am not being fooled twice in 3 tournaments. I've got Austria finishing bottom of this group. I think the way the group is set is dreadful for them because they have France first, and not many people get anything off France, and then right after that they'll have to beat Poland, and I think Poland are the worst possible team you want to face if you're on 0 points, and a loss will knock you out of a tournament. So I think this is set up badly for them. Although if I have now just reverse jinxed what happened 8 years ago, and now they're just going to smash France and produce amazing, life-affirming football, then be my guest.
I don't see them doing that, but yeah, I could see them just, even if they lose to France, which I would have thought they would, but even if they lose to France, they might go into the Poland game thinking, well, there's a fair chance that as long as we get level with this, we've got a game against the Netherlands to get us across the line. Just don't lose to Poland, and that might sink both those ships if this ends up being another one where it's 6-6-1-1.
Yes,
and that again.
That's
this is
kind of where I put it. Yeah.
Yeah. They've not got any particular booster for them. They've got 2 big names in the group, but I just think they're better than Poland. So,
but then again, with the way that the third places rule out, for all we know, you might just need that one win and you're through. I mean, Northern Ireland did it; they got 1 win, and that was them through.
I could see if you can see 2 teams finishing 1-1, 2 groups finishing that, then that's all you need. 1 win and you're home and dry. Even if there's 2 draws, you could be away. So it's getting those 3 points. But the trouble for them is if you're Austria and saying we just need 1 win, then that's got to be Poland.
Yeah, I'm just going. I think it's just I just see these 2 ending up with 1 point each, and I just see them both going out.
Well, that kind of is spoilers for the next team, but So I almost feel like it's pointless in asking John, what do you think the Dutch are going to do?
Oh well,
Will they go through?
I think they might just sneak through. They might just get there. You know, I think they've got this quite a decent guy in defence. Don't know if you've heard of him. You know,
Oh, Delight. Yeah, he's good.
yeah, he's quite good.
Uh,
Well,
You know,
this is it. They've got him and Nathan Ake and Van Dijk. That's
and Stefan De Vries. There's quite
yeah.
yeah,
You
it's a
got
strong defence.
Frimpong and Dumfries. They're sitting so prettily in defence, and that's the building block of any good tournament game. But it's really that plus some who are they get they've got a few people who could score goals for them. You look at if you're then comparing that to Austria and to Poland, you're thinking, well, surely not.
But yeah, you're thinking Gakpo and Depay. I think a lot of how deep the Dutch go into might depend on how Frankie de Jong comes back from his injury. Again, he's missed most of the season, but if he comes back, they've got the means to control the games there and actually create the chances.
Yeah.
He's in the squad. He gets on. I'm interested to see how Reinders of Milan does because he's been getting a lot of praise of late. And he's a newcomer to the Dutch squad. And surprisingly, oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is a Dortmund guy. Milan.
I thought it was Milan he played. I will check. Diana Reinders.
I would more likely trust
AC Milan. Liverpool's own Gravenberch is back in the team, given that meant Ronald Koeman had to give up on one of his grudges, which is a rare event. And
I was going to say it's first, isn't it? Yeah, after last summer, where with that signing was going through, and Koeman was not being good about that. He was finding a little bit of form towards the end of the season, so quality's there. It's just does he? I mean, does he find his way into the team? Does he start?
Yeah, I mean, well, look at Cody Gakpo, and on his day, unbeatable player, but his day doesn't come every day of the season, shall we say?
Yeah, not often enough at the minute.
I will say
he's also not that streakier sort of player. He will score one, then nothing for 2 games, then he'll score one, then nothing for 3 games, and he tends not to do them in great big bunches, which is kind of what if you don't have a striker gambling on somebody hitting form and being able to run 5 games in a row is pretty useful.
The one thing you say about him, he is a player who will press hard as a player of Klopp's Liverpool. So, yeah, he's a useful utility player, if nothing else.
At the last World Cup, he played amazing for 1.5 games and then disappeared for the rest of the tournament, basically.
Not unfamiliar.
I mean, all I will add about Ronald Koeman, who's once again the manager of the Dutch national team, is that he always reminds me of the cracking bit of commentary by the great Archie McPherson, who's 87 and still with us, who once said that facing a Ronald Koeman free kick is like facing a serial killer.
Harsh but fair.
Oh.
Yes, that run in Amsterdam where they found people dead with footballs outside their houses.
Well, you should see what the Halloween version of Breakers in Holland goes like, with the scythe and everything. But and the other team in this group are France, who are basically the team to beat these days.
Pretty much. Went to the last World Cup final. Went out to the last Euros in quite spectacular fashion. Was it 3-1 up with 20 minutes left or so, was it? And contrived to lose the game. But you look at the talent in that side. You've got Saliba has had an excellent tour in France. Did some guy up and coming, you might have heard of him, Kylian Mbappe? He's all
Vaguely,
right.
yeah. Aye. I mean, obviously, when you have the best player in the world at the moment, uh, you're always going to have a chance in the game. Always.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this in the World Cup final last time. France were quite largely second best for that whole game, and Mbappe nearly won it on his own for them.
I mean, the one thing I have against them at the moment is that a lot of their strikers, apart from him, are great flair players on their day, like Dembele and Coman, but they can also be passengers in a team when it's not going their way. But more crucially, I thought the World Cup, their best of the new midfielders was Tchouaméni, who's now at Real Madrid,
Yes.
and he's going to miss the tournament to injury. And I think that's
Yes.
going to be a massive blow for France.
It means they're vulnerable, isn't it? They can become. There's a weakness at that base of midfield. So yeah, they might be vulnerable. You know, so a team like England who have a lot of pace in there might fancy their chances against them this time, particularly given they did so well last time.
I mean, if I recall correctly, Stuart, you didn't see any of the last World Cup on conscientious grounds, am I right?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
did not fancy it. It just felt
Understandable.
yeah. It was one of those ones where it just it was. It's quite tricky to do that because you're saying that you're making a moral judgment on a thing that's quite morally corrupt anyway.
Yes.
There's enough things in football to be pretty dodgy. Say, oh, this is where you're drawing the line. It's in a funny sort of way. I did not actually miss it when it was happening because it was right in the middle of a football season. So you had a great big block of football and then another great big block of football, and it just sort of felt like you were having a month and a half off, which like a summer break. And of course, everything was so weird at that time. But I'm hoping that this time around I can watch quite a lot of the matches. It should be quite nice to be back in the swing of it again.
Yeah. I mean, I'm afraid me and John are addicts to watch every second of the thing, even as these socialists. But I was just bringing because I knew that because you would have seen the England France game from it. Essentially, England pretty much held France as equals, but then Tchouaméni, the midfielder, just scored out of nothing, and that was it. That was the difference.
Oh,
He had
it was a beautiful strike, though. Yeah.
Oh, it was an amazing goal, but I mean, that's like the difference was this one midfield player who just the chance.
Also, Harry Kane forgetting how to take a penalty.
Yeah,
true, but
he forgot half how to take a penalty. He took two that game.
It was his second, yeah.
Second, yeah. That's 50-50. That's a normal England rate for penalties.
It's a usual thing for England at the World Cup, yeah.
I assume we're all thinking that France are going to go through, and does anyone think they're not going to be a serious threat to the tournament?
Oh, God, there's so much talent in that side, you can't say it isn't.
Yeah, the odd thing, the only thing that is possibly is how deep the squad is. They've got 25. They've literally left a space blank in the squad.
Yes,
and also have got Kante in the squad as well, which is much the same. They are really impressive on so many levels, but you think if something did happen to Mbappe, would that be a big psychological thing? Because it's also when you have somebody who scores a hat trick in a World Cup final and still doesn't win the thing, that's psychologically speaking. Well, Sir Jeff would be still heartbroken if that had happened to him. But it's hard to look past them as being finalists in the making. They are so good at so many things, and they're so ruthless. They beat Gibraltar 14-0. That's no need to do that whatsoever, and yet they still like, right, we're gonna get our shooting boots on, or we're just gonna pound these people into the ground. If you're doing that umpteen things into qualification, then there is a very serious mean streak in you that's probably going to go through to the tournament.
You've just made John really excited about France v Poland.
Hurrah! Yeah. Well,
Oh.
let's not forget qualifying. Or recently, they've beaten the Netherlands home and away. So
Yeah, and they thrashed the Dutch. They really
Yeah.
thrashed the Dutch. That's the